Hey there. You've brought us some incredibly powerful material today. Excerpts, really, from a narrative pages just packed with dialogue, raw thoughts, moments from these characters' lives.
They really are, and specifically these come from the novel A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara.
Ah, right. A little life and what pages they are. I mean, these sources give such a deep, um, almost unflinching look at human relationships, the impact of trauma, how long it lasts, and just, how people manage to get through life's really hard stuff.
Exactly. So our mission here for this deep dive is to really unpack what hits home in these pages, go beyond just summarizing and get to the core stuff. What are these relationships, these really striking moments to tell us about connection, about pain, about resilience, maybe?
Definitely resilience,
Yeah.
or the struggle for it.
Yeah. It's fiction, a little life, but the feelings, the experiences in these bits we have, they feel incredibly real, almost unnervingly relatable sometimes.
Agreed. They tap into something quite fundamental, I think. So, okay, diving right in, let's look at their relationships. They seem foundational, right?
Yeah.
Especially that central group you mentioned, Jude, Willem, JB, and Malcolm. Starting off as a foursome.
Yes, and what you see immediately in the text is how that dynamic, well, it shifts. It's fluid. They might start as four, but life pulls them into different shapes. Pairs, trios, depending on what's happening.
It feels real. Friendships aren't static.
Not at all. They bend, they adapt, or sometimes they break, I suppose.
And maybe the most intense connection highlighted here is between Jude and Willem. It feels essential somehow.
Deeply essential. You see Willem constantly trying to be this anchor for Jude, offering his presence, not just talking, but physically being there.
Like those lines, don't go, stay here with me, I'm scared to be alone.
Mm.
Willem says that, right?
Yes. Or the descriptions of him actually holding Jude when he breaks down. It shows a level of support, maybe even dependency, that's pretty profound, way beyond casual friendship.
And Willem's patience, too. That comes through.
Oh, absolutely. There's that moment, it's really striking, where he's trying to get Jude to talk finally, and he says, it's time. It's time. Okay, ask me.
Wow, after waiting so long.
Exactly. It shows he gets how guarded Jude is, but he's willing to just wait to create that space. It also hints at the sheer weight of being that person for Jude. It's demanding.
Yeah, you feel that. But the sources also show other kinds of deep connection, don't they?
Yeah.
Like Jude with Harold and Julia, the adoption story.
Yes, and that's presented so differently. It's not just legal paperwork. It feels like this genuine, heartfelt thing. Their desire to make him their son, their heir, it reads as pure, sincere care, offering him something, solid acceptance.
Something he's clearly never had before. But even then.
Right. Even then, the sources show Jude struggling to fully accept it. That internal question, could he believe Harold? Even after Harold's completely sincere offer. It just shows how deep the wounds go, doesn't it?
Makes it hard to trust anything good.
Exactly. Trauma makes you doubt your own worthiness, makes you question genuine kindness. It's that painful gap between what's happening outside and what you feel inside. Still, though, you see these relationships give him a taste of family, of stability that he clearly needs.
Okay, and what about the original four? Back to them. You get hints of friction there too, right?
Oh, for sure. Little details like Malcolm's father preferring Jude over Malcolm himself.
Yeah.
That's got a sting, right? Puts a strain on things.
Yeah, definitely.
And JB, he seems on a different track. There's his art, but also the drug use mention and that feeling of being left behind. Wondering why had they left him for Jackson to pick over and destroy? That's a really raw feeling of abandonment within the group.
Speaks to how groups can fracture when lives go in different directions.
Absolutely. But then you also see this quiet understanding between Willem and JB. That line, there but for the grace of God. It feels like they share something, maybe about their backgrounds, that Malcolm doesn't quite get.
A shared perspective.
Yeah. And Malcolm, he seems to fit in more practically. Designing Jude's apartment layout, things like that, shows support can be tangible too, not just emotional handholding.
Different roles. Okay, so friendships are key, but it's impossible to look at these pages and not see the giant shadow cast by Jude's past. It's just overwhelming.
It is. The sources are relentless about it. They detail experiences in specific places, the monastery, the home. And it's not just what happened, it's the devastating effect of that abuse, that neglect, on who he becomes.
The monastery parts are incredibly hard to read. Figures like Father Gabriel, Brother Peter, and especially Brother Luke, tied to violence, abuse.
And Jude's reactions, the rages, throwing himself against walls, banging injured parts of himself, his hand, It's a picture of a child in just agony, turning it all inward.
And that contrast you mentioned earlier, yearning for Brother Luke's fantasy stories about a cabin, but the reality being, well, contingent on whether Brother Luke had seen clients. It's sickening.
Gut-wrenching is the word. And being called Joey by others, it's like they're erasing even his name.
Then there's the home. Another layer of awful.
Yeah, institutional trauma, counselors like Roger. And that feeling Jude describes of becoming inanimate, like a curtain rod, a ceiling fan, just to survive, detaching completely.
A coping mechanism, but a terrifying one.
Absolutely. And escaping Roger, hiding in the science lab, then the violence with Dr. Traylor, the fire poker, running away. These aren't just stories. They're the building blocks of his terror, his mistrust, and being told he was dirty, disgusting.
Words that stick. Words that define, almost.
They try to, and then that one encounter, the man forcing him to look at himself, calling him a prostitute, a whore, and saying,
"You were made for this, Jude," or "You were born for this." Chilling.
It really is. It speaks to that deep dehumanization, that attempt to convince him his very being is corrupt, destined for abuse. That's a profound kind of damage the source reveals.
And it's not just memories, is it? The past isn't past at all.
Not remotely. The sources make that brutally clear. It lives in his present. Physically, the chronic pain, the leg damage, illnesses, needing prostheses, bone infections. His body literally carries the trauma.
And mentally, visibly, through self-harm.
Yes, and it's described with such painful clarity, the ritual, unsticking the bag, cutting over old scars, even that awful detail about accidentally burning himself with oil when he was actually trying not to cut myself.
Oh, God. The desperation in that.
It shows the impossible bind he's in, and the reactions of people who care, like Andy, his doctor, yelling, "You fucking ruined your arms, you know that, right?" It just highlights the severity, the impact it has on everyone.
Let's talk about Andy. His role seems so complex, part therapist, part friend. It's a difficult line.
Immensely difficult. Andy's presence really shows the challenge of caring for someone with that level of deep, unhealed trauma. You see his dedication, but also his frustration.
Like when he yells at Willem, asking where he is while Jude is sitting at home, fucking cutting himself to shreds.
Exactly. That raw anger born of helplessness and care. And their relationship around therapy is described as a fragile and mutually unsatisfying ceasefire. It captures that tightrope perfectly.
The tallying of cuts, too, just a stark detail.
Shows the chronicity, the grim reality Andy's dealing with. And ultimately, Andy realizes maybe he's too close, or maybe Jude needs something different. He suggests a new doctor, someone who can grow old with you.
And Jude's reply. That's one of the lines that just stops you cold, isn't it?
As long as I die in the next 19 years. Yeah.
It just encapsulates everything. The despair, the inability to imagine a future without this consuming pain. A future where someone could grow old with him.
Says it all, really. And the sources dig into that fear of vulnerability, too. How he finds it barely possible for him to speak his story. How he's still never done it to anyone but Andy. Never fully exposed himself.
Because of those words. Dirty, disgusting, made for this.
It seems directly linked. That fear of being seen, truly seen and rejected. He feels intense physical loneliness, that image of a sodden clump of dirty laundry pressing against his chest. Yet he sees wanting companionship as greed.
What a paradox. Wanting it so badly, but feeling unworthy of it.
A core conflict driven by the trauma. It warps everything, even basic human needs.
And these internal struggles, they obviously spill outwards. They affect everyone around him.
Absolutely. The sources show the distress, the helplessness of his friends, his family. Willem feeling Jude's self-harm, almost physically saying, "You see what it feels like, Jude? That vicarious agony."
And Harold and Julia, their reaction.
Their anger, yes, but also their self-blame. Julia's question, how could you let this keep happening? It's heartbreaking. It shows the immense burden on loved ones when someone resists help, how trauma wounds the whole network.
Okay, so look, these sources are heavy. So much focus on pain, trauma, difficulty. But you said there were other moments too, glimmers of connection.
Yes, absolutely. Amidst all the darkness, there are these moments of profound connection or sharp insights that really stand out.
Like what?
Well, there's that quiet understanding between Jude and Richard, looking at Jude's legal work. They need only the fewest of words, yet understanding exactly what the other meant. It shows connection doesn't always need explaining, you know.
Shared understanding.
Exactly. Or JB on the train seeing the laborers and thinking, there but for the grace of God. It's a flash of empathy, of humility, connecting him back to maybe his own past, the randomness of life.
And Jude himself, despite his silence, seems to have this deep insight into other people.
Yes. The text mentions he understands why others need to tell their stories, and that his own silence is strategic, both a necessity and a protection. Trauma forces a kind of hyper-awareness, maybe.
Interesting. Seeing silence as a tool, not just a deficit.
Right. And then there are moments of just warmth, domesticity at Harold and Julia's. The baking, Jude cooking their favorite foods for the adoption lunch, small acts, but they paint this picture of nurturing, of belonging, that's so powerful against the backdrop of his past.
The simple power of chosen family.
Definitely. And physical moments, too. Willem just placing his hand on Jude's back after seeing the scars, and Jude crying. It's pure acceptance, gentle touch, bypassing words. So healing.
Or JB's moments.
Oh,
More impulsive, maybe.
yeah. Showing Jude the painting of Willem, saying, "When the show comes down, Jude, it's yours." And that sudden kiss. JB suddenly grabs him by his shoulders and kisses him on the mouth. Unexpected bursts of affection cutting through the isolation.
And there are broader reflections, too, aren't there? About relationships in general.
Yes, like that idea, why are people together? What do you see as essential? What's missing in you that you seek in someone else? It's a really provocative way to think about our connection.
Makes you think about your own relationships, actually.
It does. And Willem's realization about feeling untethered, like a scrap of paper floating through the air without family roots, and finding that shared feeling with Jude, that sense of being adrift together, creating its own profound bond.
So wrapping up this deep dive then, we've journeyed through these really unforgettable excerpts from A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. We've seen immense pain, deep struggle, but also that enduring power of connection.
And the quiet strength people find, somehow, shared moments, the sheer complexity of the human heart, really.
These pages, they show so starkly how the past shapes us, the consequences of trauma, but also the incredibly complicated ways people try to cope, build lives anyway, find moments of grace, belonging.
Even when carrying unimaginable things, they show that deep down, even in the darkest times, that need for connection just doesn't go away. And acts of kindness, real acceptance, fierce love, they can still exist, they still matter.
It's a demanding read, a little life, no doubt about it. But these sources you brought us, they offer such rich, complex insights. If you're the one who provided these pages, we really hope this discussion helped unpack why they hit so hard.
And if listening to this has made you curious about the bigger picture, about these characters, well, Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara is truly a powerful, profoundly moving novel.
Yeah, it offers incredibly deep, sometimes painful, but always human insights into love, friendship, suffering, and survival. It's definitely a book that stays with you long after you finish it. Worth the journey, I'd say.
It absolutely is. And maybe a final thought to leave you with, something simmering from these pages. When someone has been so damaged, so convinced by their past that they are fundamentally unworthy or dirty, what does it really take for them and for the people who love them to build genuine trust and intimacy? And what does that struggle tell us about the true meaning and the sheer difficulty of unconditional acceptance?